Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Norfolk. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jim Kitts and I'm this year's president. First, I ask that you please mute your phone, and as you're needed for the program, or if you have any questions you want to ask at that point, you can unmute yourself. So welcome to our meeting. And now I'm going to ask us to listen and join in with Pam Tubbs as she leads our music.
Okay, I'm going to try something new, and I'm going to have to share my screen. I cannot share my screen while another participant is sharing. So Joel, we need to unshare your screen.
I just undid there, so go ahead.
Okay. That's good. All right. Share. Now, I've been doing this with our church choir because we miss singing. Singers need to sing. And so every Wednesday evening, we get together and Ace and I sit at the piano here and we lead singing. It's kind of fun, even though it's not actually singing together. We will have an opportunity to sing together, just we won't hear one another. Okay, so anyway, this is in honor of this week's and Armed Forces, or Veterans Day rather. I figured it might be fun if we did a medley of Armed Forces tunes. So I'm going to try to play and sing and change pages as we go along. So bear with me and sing along loud when you get to your favorite service, okay? And Jim, I put you first. And I did this arrangement when I was living in Japan last on an Air Force base, and that's why the Air Force song is last. Normally you save the Navy and the best for last, but anyway, Army comes first in this one. So first to fight for the right and to build a nation's might, and the Army goes rolling along. From all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the Army goes rolling along. And it's high, high, hey, the Army's on its way. Come on, the cannons loud and strong. For wherever we go, you always know that the Army goes rolling along. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air and land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and keep our honor clean. Proud to claim the title of United States Marines. Always ready for the call. We place our trust in thee. Through holy field and shot and shell to win a victory. Send apparatus is our guide. A pledge our motto to. We're always ready to or die. I, Coast Guard, we fight for you. Anchors obey, my boys. Anchors obey. Oh gosh, there we go. Farewell to former joys, we sail at break of day. Hey, 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 to our last night ashore, into the foam, until we meet once more. Here's wishing you a happy voyage home.
Thank you very much, Pam. That was awesome. That was great.
Loved it.
We really appreciate it.
Jim, I just have a quick question. For Pam, perhaps, is there a Space Force song yet?
Is there
Ooh.
what?
A Space Force song?
Oh, that's a very good question. I actually looked for it and nobody has come up with one yet, although I suppose the Star Wars theme would do.
That's a great question. And Pam, that was a great job. And now if you can join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Let me see if I can screen share. Give me 1 second. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now if you'll please join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? And of course, will it be fun? And now our invocation will be given to us by our own Jim Sell.
Thank you. On this Veterans Day Eve, let us pray. Gracious God, we give thanks for military men and women from both the past and the present, and for their courageous service and sacrifice to our country and its people to secure the blessings of life, liberty, and justice for all. May our remembrance be a timely reminder that our freedom was purchased at high cost and should not be taken for granted. Give us resolve to labor in faithful service to you until all share the benefits of freedom, justice, and peace. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jim. And now our visitation report from Joe Massey.
Hi, follow up on Halsey Brandt, Ashland and David Brandt's daughter. She's down in Raleigh. She's gone through a battery of tests and they still don't know what is causing her pain, although it has subsided a little bit. So much so that she could go back to work.
Well, that's great news.
Now, the good part of this is that 4:30 this afternoon in the Town Point Park here in Norfolk, fellow Rotarian Ben Mason is going to catch Halsey's fiance going down on one knee and trying to give her a ring. So anybody want to see that, go down to Town Point Club Park at 4:30 this afternoon. And that's my visitation report.
Okay. Thank you very much, Joe. Appreciate that. I do not believe, other than our speaker, that we have any guests here. Let me take one more quick look through.
I don't see anyone either, Jim.
Yeah, I don't see anyone either. I tell you, what I do see are a lot of faces at this meeting that we haven't seen in a long time. So it's great to see you, and it's great to be able to join together. Our school of the week is Granby Elementary School, and our rotation scribe for today is John Cameron. So make sure you speak clearly so John can get a good documentation of our meeting. First bit of club business, I just regretfully need to pass along that one of our former members, Gene Justice, passed away on the 4th of November. He had been a Rotarian for over 25 years. I'll be honest, I did not know him all that well, but we had some fond remembrances of him last night at our board meeting. And if anyone would like to share any that they have of Gene, feel free. Eleanor?
I just wanted to say that, well, first of all, I did not know that, but he and Jim Baker and I spent about 10 days going to and from and being in Ghana. And it was impressive to watch him think through and function regarding putting together a proposal to do a project. And he's got a great sense of humor and his judgment was great. And I just enjoyed knowing him tremendously.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? I will tell you that you can access his obituary in my president's message. There's a link that will take you there. He mentioned, and just so you know, in lieu of flowers, he had mentioned that there was a charity related to Virginia Tech. He was a big Hokie. And if you would like to, make a memorial contribution to our endowment, that would be awesome also. And we'll make sure his wife, Helen, is aware of that. So I just wanted to make sure the club was aware of Gene's passing. Also, tomorrow's Veterans Day. How many, I know we have lots of veterans from all services in our club. We are a very well represented group when it comes to military service. I, for one, wish to thank you, thank all of our veterans for your contribution and service. And I will tell you that from a personal standpoint, it was my privilege to have served, and has helped me become the person that I've become. So thank you to all of our veterans. When you encounter them, today and tomorrow, please feel free to let them know your gratitude. Sigger, would you like a couple of minutes to talk about the Rotary Foundation?
Thank you so much, President Jim. This is Rotary International's Foundation Month, so I thought that I would orient this one towards the newer members of the club. The foundation was founded in 1917 by then Rotary International President Arch Klump, and it started with all of $26.50, and today it has grown to more than $1 billion, both in investments and in commitments. Arch's idea was to, quote, do good in the world, end quote, and that's what Rotary has done. When you make your contribution to either the annual fund share account or to Polio Plus, 3 years later, that money comes back to the district where it is distributed 50% to district grants, and we have benefited from district grants with the COVID-19 mask for EMVMS and our new kitchen at the Hunton YMCA. And the other 50% goes to the international global grants. And I know that Eleanor Schoonover and Benha, are working on a global grant on our behalf. So for those new Rotarians or those who have not become Paul Harris Fellows, so when you hear PHF or see that, it's a Paul Harris Fellow. That's the recognition of having contributed to the Rotary Foundation in an amount of $1,000. So if you have yet to become a Paul Harris Fellow, the club will match your contribution with a minimum of $100, either to the annual fund share account or to Polio Plus. If you all have any questions about the Rotary Foundation, I'm your chair, and so please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sigger, and thanks for all you do, keeping us squared away with the Rotary Foundation. We appreciate it. Let's see here. Walt, would you like to talk a little bit about the upcoming service project at the Norfolk Botanical Garden?
Sure, Jim. It's an annual project that we have with the club, and it involves preparing the botanical gardens for winter. And that means transferring some of the plants from outdoors into indoor so they are sheltered from the winter cold and the winds. Normally, it's a good event. Hopefully this year we'll have good weather since some of that time is spent outside. And it's on Saturday. I believe it's 10 o'clock, but I need to confirm that.
I think we're starting at 9:30.
9:30, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the only event so far for November.
Okay, well, thank you. I will tell you, it's been a lot of, I've done several of the Norfolk Botanical Garden, winterization events, and it's a great chance to get together with other folks. And it's kind of fun, seeing how they work from behind the scenes. So I highly encourage a good turnout for that. Our holiday social is going to be December 3rd at 6:30 at the Commune Restaurant in Norfolk. And there is a sign up link on our website, and we do require that you send in an RSVP, as we do have a limited number of folks who are able to attend given the size of Commune. Can you, Pam, do you have anything you'd like to add to the holiday social?
Yeah, just that, don't wait, go ahead and make a reservation. If you need to change it later, that's fine, but it's better for us to know the numbers up front so that we can deal with getting food and everything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next up, this is really one of the neat things of being president. We have an application, and I sent out a copy of it to all the members so that you could take a look at it. And several of you have actually sent me an email back with your vote, and we will certainly take that into account. But I'm going to post a poll right now. And just so you know, it is anonymous. All we see are the numbers. We don't see how each of you voted. So the poll, which I'm about to launch, is a simple question. Since you've seen his application, and I'm asking if you're in favor of Clay Dills joining our club. I do need to get some Jeopardy music for this, especially with Alex Trebek's passing. Okay, we're close on everyone. Give it about 10 more seconds. Okay, thank you very much. Shockingly, it was unanimous that Clay Dills will be offered membership in our club. I will let the club know when we'll actually be doing the induction. So thank you very much for that. One last piece of club business is Lorna is going to be talking to us about the slate of officers and board members for the Rotary year 2021-22. So Lorna.
Hello, this is me. According to our bylaws, a month before our general meeting in December, which this year will be December 8th, the immediate past president who chairs the nominating committee is to do a couple of things. One is to ask for nominations, or as we've done in more recent years, to present a complete slate of officers. I'm going to present that slate of officers that will be voted upon on December 8th at that general meeting. I will also be open to any other nomination should you feel. However, at this point, I do have a complete slate of officers. So with that in mind, I'd like to tell you who they are. As you know, in 2021 to 2022, our president will be Michael DePlane. Our president-elect will be Lori Harrison, Vice President Jeff Wells. Our new officer that you will vote on that has agreed to serve as our Secretary Treasurer is Barbara Lipskis. And I think all of you know that Barbara is an immensely talented woman. I think that she has a lot of experience leading various community organizations. So I think that in itself speaks highly for her talent. She also has been a steady and involved Rotarian through the years, and you know, demonstrates all the qualities that we would want as a leader in our club. So, you know, keep that in mind. She has agreed to serve, and, you know, barring that anyone else decides to serve, she will be the only officer that will be new to that slate. Of course, our Jim Kitts will become immediate past president. As far as directors, we have an excellent slate of new directors that have agreed to let their names stand, and I have 7 that will be in front of you on December 8th for your approval. The first one is Dave Duncan. I'm not sure if Dave's on, any of these are online today. Some of them are, obviously.
Dave's here.
Dave has been a president of a Rotary Club in the past and has a lot of experience. I'm really excited to have him on board. He brings, you know, some experience with other clubs, and I think you will all benefit from his time there. John Cameron has agreed to serve, and you all know John. He's a scribe today, but he also has musical talent, and he has always been, you know, extremely involved in our club. We have the third one is Christopher Bugg, and I'm really excited about Christopher. Although he's a very new member, he has very good ancestry in Rotary, and I think that I'm extremely excited about him joining the board. I think he will balance out. He's a new member in our club, and will bring new ideas. But the new board directors also have those people with experience. So I'm excited about him. Now, we needed some youth on this new board for Michael. So Brian McGuire has agreed to serve on the board in 2021-22. As you know, Brian has already, you know, stepped into various functions within our club. He now serves to set out rotations. Seeger has schooled him well, and he seems to be doing really, really exceptionally well in getting rotations out to you. He's an incredible young man and one of the young people in our club. So I think that's a good face to have on the new board. Michelle Nettles will also be on the board. Michelle has been very active in various committees, including the Teal Exchange. I think Michelle has lots of talent in terms of running a business, so she is a good leader, and will try and keep the rest of these male directors in line. The sixth one is Bob Ash, and Bob Ash will bring some wisdom and experience to our group. Bob had to get offline today to teach, but Bob is retiring from teaching at ODU and will have a lot of time to devote to trying to keep Michael DePlane in line next year. And finally, Bryce Burton, who is the past president, has agreed to also serve on Michael's board. And I think all of you will, most of you anyway, will recall Bryce Burton was a president not too many years ago, and has headed up fundraisers, particularly the one Growl Fest that happens in the zoo, although we didn't have it this year. So those are the 7 new directors. I think I ask you to reflect on that and come to the general meeting on December 8th. And we will have a vote on this complete slate Unless you send to me any of your other nominations that you would like to do, we will vote on a complete slate. The final thing I'd like to say, Jim, before I stop, is that we also, although it's not a voted member, Tom Ambler has agreed to continue to be the parliamentarian for the board next year. So we thank Tom for everything he does. He has been instrumental in helping us with resolutions, looking at bylaws, and keeping Jim Kitts and the board in line this year. So we thank Tom for his steady commitment to us on the board. So that's the board, Jim, and we will vote on that on December 8th. If there's any questions or you have anybody wants to make further nominations, please contact me.
Lorna, thank you for all the hard work.
Let's give them a hand, people.
Yeah. Let's give all of our nominees a hand. You know, it's an impressive group, and you know, look forward to them, you know, running the club in 21, 22. So, and Lorna, thank you for all your hard work in putting that together. All right, so we're on to fines and happy bucks. Does anyone have any good news that they would like to share with the club?
Jim, I got happy bucks for the Marine Corps birthday. Marine Corps birthday today.
Okay, happy birthday, Marine Corps.
Were you singing?
I was singing. I even stood up like a Marine for a bit of it.
Hoorah!
Thank you, Chris. Any other happy bucks?
Hey, Jim, I'd like to give happy bucks. I'd like to give happy bucks on the behalf of Pam Tubbs' exceptional piano skills and also Lorna's introduction of potential new directors.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that.
I have melancholy happy bucks. It would be my father's 104th birthday today, were he still here.
Yeah. Thanks, Carlisle. Anyone else? Did I see Joe Massey's hand?
Yeah, I got to pay a fine because he used the song "Anchors Away," and I was told by a past president every time it's used, I got to pay him $20.
Well, you know what? Given that, I'm going to fine myself for Anchors Away because apparently it was brought to my attention that in one of our rotation bulletins, it's spelt away wrong. It spelt it A-W-A-Y and it should have been A-W-E-I-G-H. Is that correct, Chris Bug?
What do you expect for a soldier? I mean, really, how many anchors away?
You know, President Jim, I'm not sure that Judge Massey needs to continue to pay that fine since he no longer lives in the Anchors Away house.
Yeah, for the new members, the fellow who built our house in Lakewood was the author of Anchors Away. He was a senior at the Naval Academy. I think it was in 1907. And he was the one who wrote the fight song for the Army-Navy game his senior year.
Well, given that, Sigger, I'm not sure I want to make that fine go away. You know, I also have some happy bucks I'd like to throw in. Had a wonderful trip with my son last weekend. We actually went up to North Dakota for a couple of days of duck hunting, which was great. So I'll be throwing in some happy bucks for that. Anyone else? All right, well, thank you very much. We'll now move on to the presentation part of our program. And at this point, I will turn it over to our Vice President in charge of programs, Lori Harrison.
Thank you. Sally Hartman is our Rotarian of the day, and I appreciate her taking that job while she's actually out of town in Chickatique. Sally's been a member since 2007, and she, of course, loves hearing from all of our speakers and learning new things. When Sally was in college, this is her fun fact, when she was in college on a journalism, at a journalism conference in Philadelphia, she ran into Katharine Hepburn, Colonel Sanders, and Christopher Reeve. So she'll have to tell us how she saw all three of those people. But anyway, sounds like fun, Sally. And looking forward to hearing our speaker.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is a program I've wanted to have for a long time because I'm fascinated by people that make little twists and turns in life. So most of us know Barry Moss as an architect. He is the founder and principal of Time Off Moss, which is based in Norfolk. He has architecture degrees from Virginia Tech and Columbia University, and he has chaired the Norfolk Design and Review Committee and been the university architect at ODU. His projects have won awards. They've been featured in the Wall Street Journal and National Public Radio. He and his team have worked on things we see all over our region, all the AAA headquarters, Southern Banks, the new buildings for kids is putting up in Chesapeake and Suffolk. A lot of the restored buildings downtown Norfolk along Granby Street. Barry had a hand in bringing those back to life. But putting architecture aside, he dreamed of running a winery, which I find fascinating because it's so different and lots of us have ideas about doing something different, but he actually did. He is the owner, designer, and proprietor of Moss Vineyards, which has a winery, tasting room, and event venue that is in Albemarle County, right on a beautiful spot outside Charlottesville, where he and his wife Ellen now live. But before Barry tells us about the wine business, I have a few fun facts about him. He partnered with the late artist Charles Hello on oil paintings, and he won Best Amateur Artist at the Museum of Contemporary Arts in Virginia Beach. And in 2013 at the winery, he was bitten by a copperhead and nearly didn't make it to be with us here today, but we're glad he did. Last year, the Moss Vineyards 2014 Architectura wine received a 94 rating by Wine Spectator magazine. And in his free time, Barry loves to play Neil Young and James Taylor on his D35 Martin guitar. And another little fun fact is, somehow I got lucky and got to be in the first group of people to plant the first grapevine. So I hope they're alive. I have my Moss Vineyards glass here. So cheers, Barry. Take it away.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to ask, is the audio quality okay? I'm outdoors and there's a small breeze. Can everyone hear me? Yes. Okay, good.
Sounds good, Barry.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And I see a lot of familiar faces. Ann, good to see you. And Morgan, Bob Ash, I see us dashed off, but a few other names, Jim Sell. It's good to see those faces. I'm a former Norfolk Rotarian as well, and I miss Norfolk seeing you today. So I'm going to ask if I could share my screen, and if you could give me that option, I'll do that. And I'm going to run through a little presentation and then a couple of quick video clips at the end, and then hopefully answer some of your questions.
Sure. Go ahead and share, Bob.
Okay. All right. So how did this all happen? How did I leave Norfolk and end up here? It's been several years since I've lived in Norfolk. And you're looking at a photograph of the vineyard to the west. At the crest of that mountain is the Skyline Drive. And we're about 15 miles north of Charlottesville on 52 acres. This is Loft Mountain that is on the Skyline Drive, and is really looks like a saddleback, but it's sort of the visual icon of our view. So as Sally mentioned, I do like to paint, and I do love Europe, and I lived in Europe for a short time. And this is a painting in Italy, and Italy is sort of where I gravitated when I was younger and learned about vineyards and wine. In 2005, we went back as a family together and stayed at a place where we were able to sample the local foods and local vintages and try to understand what it was that made wine successful and why I like to drink so much of it. This is a view of the Inn at Trevignano, which is in Tuscany, near the city of Arezzo, and this is the wine region. There are a few cleared pieces of land at the bottom that are vineyards, and just 4 or 5 miles away, a small township where we would get our wine and food every day. And we made a dream there that we would move to Italy and start a vineyard, but then we had an attack of common sense and realized that our family was in Virginia and would return back here to look and see what was going on. Here at, this is a painting out at Afton Vineyards, where I had some wine and had not had Virginia wine in many years. I didn't think it was very drinkable back in the 80s and 90s, but I was really surprised at how the quality had improved and thought that maybe it was something to give a shot. So this is a parcel of land that we found that you saw in the earlier photograph, which we purchased. And this is my wife, Ellen, standing next to the excavator that we used to clear about 10 acres of the land and build a road up to the top of the mountain. But the winery would not exist without two very important people. This is Gabriele Rossi. And I have to tell you the story about Gabriele. He, in the 1970s, came here at the behest of Barboursville Vineyards and the Zanin family. And he wanted to plant grapes, but Virginia Tech advised against it. And so he had to go all the way to the state legislature to ask them for permission. And they were dead set against it because they believed Virginia Tech's perspective that planting grapes would not be a good thing in Virginia for some reason, that they would not be successful. But Gabriella said, well, why not give me the shot at being successful? I mean, this is America, isn't it? So, and he said in his broken English, and they said, okay, go ahead, Gabriella. So he got the first grafts going and the first part of Barboursville Winery going. So standing here at site, and Sally, you may be in this photograph somewhere, but this is the new director at and winemaker at Barboursville Vineyards with the yellow shovel. And he was also instrumental, and I don't think that this winery would exist without his help as well, and the details. Both of them helped me think about orientation of the vineyard, where to get the soil testing, what to plant, and you know, when I talked to them, Cabernet Sauvignon seemed to be the selection here in this very rocky soil that you can see. It's very depleted soil, best left for vines and trees, not for food. So Luca Paschina here and I have had a close friendship for the past 10, 15 years and work together, compare wines. I help him with architecture occasionally. So back in 2006, the construction of the vineyard started with pile driving, as you see here, of the vineyard stakes. We would run wire between these and then plant small, if you will, saplings in the ground at about 3 feet on center along those rows. And after the first 2 or 3 months, the vines budded, which was a miracle because we had a terrible drought in 2007. And then in the fall of that year, you can see the progress of the vines, which was not a harvestable quantity, but we did have a few grapes. And we really did not see a quantity that we could harvest until 2010. So after the harvest, of course, you have to age the wine. So it started in 2006, and we really did not have a wine until 2012 when we opened our tasting room. So it's quite a long haul. And speaking of long haul, I was going back and forth from Norfolk on the weekends doing this work. And then it was time to have a place to stay and build the buildings. And so I built this small little cabin. I called it Cabin A, like Cabernet. And this is my dad, who's not working, in the chair, and one of my sons, Ryan, on the right. But I would sleep in here on the weekends. It's about 7 feet on the diagonal, and build the buildings during the day. So the idea of the first building was a ruin, if you will, like if you see in rural Virginia, the two chimneys that come out of the ground where an old estate used to be. I envisioned a glass box between the two chimneys as sort of an icon for the winery. That thinking of what would an estate building look like that I could build. And I might mention that I did build all of these buildings physically by hand over on the weekends. And this first building took 2.5 years, but then we enjoyed a party here in 2011. And you can see the crowd that came up mostly from Norfolk and Virginia Beach. So the first building had the winery below and where we lived above. And then the tent on the right was just a temporary structure. But you can see the vines are coming along there, and we trim them back every year down to the low wire. So they're trainable like roses or tomato plants. But then a collection of other buildings came later. This is the new event hall that I built next to the winery building. It seats about 120 to 150 people. And this pavilion, which is used for outdoor wedding ceremonies, tasting, people are doing tastings that want to picnic here. I think this is a wedding scene at night. Another look at inside the pavilion. That's my daughter-in-law on the left, Kate, and my other daughter-in-law on the right, Seringe, or future daughter-in-law, I may say. And it's really a magical place. So the moods of the weather that come in that influence and help the development of the vine and set the mood. It's a poetic sort of place. It can also be a very challenging place in Virginia, with weather being what it is in these days of climate change. Other buildings recently built here is the first guest cottage, which is like a 2-bedroom building with a deck overlooking the river at the bottom of our property. This is the inside of it, and we're getting ready to open this soon. And I want to show you a little bit about the winemaking process. I'll talk more about this as we go on. This is in 2010, the first harvest of reds we had. And my young son, Ian, at the bottom there, back at that time, you can see the lug of grapes of Cabernet Sauvignon on the lower right. So the nets that you see are there to protect the grapes from birds primarily. We thought they might work on raccoons and bears and other things, but they do virtually nothing for that. So we harvest the lugs and carry them up to the winery. And if you look at the lower left of the slide, there's a little window at the bottom, and that's a window that we use as a chute into the tanks that are in the winery below the building. So we crush the grapes. That is, we gently break them open with this crusher at the top, and the grapes fall into the chute and then go down into the tank. And it's just essentially grape skins and juice for the reds. And I'll talk about the whites as well. And our first press was this portable press that you see that we've since moved out to the outside as sort of a relic, but now we have a hydraulic press. You see some of the tanks that we use to move wine back and forth to help with settlement and aging, and that's called racking. We press the skins, the red skins, to extract the strong tannins that are inside that red grape. That gives it its real strength. When we get new barrels like these recently, this past month, I fill them with water to make sure they don't leak and then steam them. This is my grandson learning to, I don't know, put the bung into the barrel in the wrong direction, but he's a pleasure. His name is Aiden. He's 2.5. Then the barrels are racked off to the right for aging for 2 years for the reds. And these are French barrels or Hungarian barrels, which is a different, made of a different oak than the domestic oak trees we have here. Now, I know there's some really good domestic American oak barrels that some California wineries do use, but very few do. Most use the European oak, which is a completely different taste. And the oak helps with the aging and the complexities in the wine. Just a final glass here of the 2010, our first vintage Architect Tour, which I enjoyed back on August 10th here at the Peaks of Otter on the Blue Ridge Parkway. I have to tell you that it just gets better with time, and aging is important. And I watch the wines change over time. Like your children, you see how they mature, develop, and go the right way, or maybe not. But it is interesting to follow all of them. So this past year, 2020, has been the year to remember, not just for vineyards, but for all sorts of reasons. It's been quite a year. We had our first really horrible frost that I can remember here at the vineyard, the worst in Virginia since I think they said 1947. So what you're looking at is a view down into the vineyard where we have put out canisters of essentially sterno. They're called candles. They're from France, and they're distributed about 30 feet on center, and they raise the temperature of the vineyard a degree or two, just enough to help. And in the lower part of our vineyard where the cold air may sink, I think that this was somewhat helpful. We were one of the only wineries to have a crop this year in this area, and Virginia probably suffered 50% crop loss due to the frost. It was big news up here. You can see those bucket candles or on the lower right, and what it looked like at dawn. We're outside watching the temperature as the hours progress through the night, watching it go down and down. And I honestly did not think we had any frost at all. Until I turned on the headlights of the truck and I could see it, and I panicked and went out and lit all these things. And you can see a little bit in the right-hand side, a little bit of white glaze on that grass. Well, what happens is that frost, if it gets on the young vine, it will kill the fruit. And the vines you see right here are at the bottom. These are Viognier, or it's a white grape, and the fruit is just developing. It's about the size of your pinky at that point. These vines have been cut back over the winter down to that low wire, and every year they grow up over the top wire, and we have to just keep trimming and trimming and trimming. And we have to thin the fruit because it's a little overproductive sometimes. But the frost, that can end your year. We survived that. And then we had a drought, which was tough. Then we had the wettest August on record. So it was not a good year for wine this year, particularly for the reds. So I'll probably blend the 2020 reds in with older wine to try to balance some of the pluses and minuses. The Viognier actually turned out pretty good, and the Rosé turned out great. This is a picture of this year's crop of Cabernet Sauvignon. And as I said, we will select vines. Let me say the bottom of the vine is the bottom wire is called the cordon. The vertical part is the trunk at the bottom, and then the vertical green stems at the top are the shoots. So we will try to train our vines to create about 3 to 4 shoots on each side of the trunk, and it's a T-shaped training at the base on the cordon wire. So what happens is 1 to 2 clusters of grapes will typically grow at the bottom of each shoot. So you may have 12 clusters of grapes for each plant if you like, but the key is not to have them overproduce. So we'll go through and actually take out clusters and take them out of the vineyard, throw them away. If you look at the cluster in the upper left there's like 1 green grape, 2 green grapes on that cluster. that was one that was sort of on the bubble. We took out a lot of clusters this year that were unevenly ripened. So this vineyard produces about 12 tons of grapes per year, which is about 5,000 bottles of wine that Ellen and I make. This is a painting of the vineyard looking toward the Skyline Drive. So now I'm going to go and show you a couple of videos that will give you an idea of the process a little bit better. And I have to say, I am freezing. It is a cold front moving in, so the wind has gotten a little chilly, and didn't expect it. It's been really so warm up here this year. You never know what you're going to get with the weather. And the good vintages are those that are on the dry side and steady, warm temperature, lots of heat degree days. And the bad vintages are when we have a lot of rain, and particularly in the fall. So I'm going to show you sort of a overhead view of the vineyard. As I mentioned, 52 acres, and this clearing, which has about 5,000 vines, is in an area of about 8 to 10 acres, I'd say. And you can see the buildings have grown over the years at the top. The winery on the left, the tasting room in the middle, the outdoor pavilion, and then the event building on the right.
Barry, we still see your PowerPoint screen.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see the new screen now? Does everyone see this video?
It looks like it's about to launch.
Okay, good. It does say we're screen sharing. I hope you can see this overhead view. I've never tried to share a video on Zoom. I don't know if it has the speed to do it. So
Yeah.
anything, you see it?
No, we see a box, but I don't see anything. I don't see any video.
Okay. Maybe if we just give it a little time to buffer, it will come up. But having said that, if we do not launch these videos, then I will stop the presentation and open it up to your questions. And we'll see if anything comes up on your screen.
Okay. Well, who has some questions for Barry?
I have one.
Go right ahead.
So I'm wondering what COVID restrictions did to you and your winery and event space. Are you open? Can we come?
Well, that's a great question. We had close to 30 weddings scheduled this year, and all but 3 we rescheduled. We encouraged them to reschedule to the following year, and we had a couple that canceled. And then we decided. I think we were the first and one of the only wineries to stay closed for COVID, starting back in March. Since we live on the property, and since my grandson is now living here, they're refugees from New York City. We just decided the risks were a little too high, and so we just decided to close for a year, and we're hoping to reopen next summer. And I'm a little concerned about the weddings that we're fully booked for 2021 as well. that some of them may have to reschedule.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jim.
Can you buy moss wine in Norfolk?
You can buy it online, and if you go to mossvineyards.net, and there's a site on there that lists our wines and prices, and we ship to all states.
Well, I'll jump in. So in the beginning of my wine knowledge, wine had to be from France. France was the epicenter of wine. And then things evolved where the Napa Valley and the Sonoma Valley had good wine. And now wine is produced all over. So is Virginia wine going to be comparable to the aforementioned locations, or do they have some benefit that will last forever? And is there such a difference in wine from one of those places, or Portugal or Spain or whatever you want to call it, that gives them some special characteristic as opposed to New York State wine or Virginia wine? I'm not sure if there's a question in there, but I hope you can figure it out.
Oh, that actually is a great question, and it's discussed all the time. And let me say that, wine did really reach its popularity from, originating from France, because it's such an ideal place to grow, and so many centuries to develop the local knowledge of soil, chemicals. For instance, I think it was during the Roman times that someone noticed that sulfur being carted along a road from a sulfur mine would blow over on certain vineyards, and those vineyards would fare much better because the sulfur powder would get on the leaves and kill the various mildews that afflict grapevines. So that's just one story. But then when Jefferson and Lord Delaware and others realized that the climate in Virginia is so similar to France, many regions of France, that it was an ideal place to plant. Well, they brought all of these French vines over and planted thousands of acres in Lord Delaware's case. And they all promptly died because in the New World, the mildews that are here, the diseases that kill the vines and harm the fruit, were new to these French vinifera varietals. So it wasn't until the 1850s, I believe, that a Frenchman and an American scientist came up with a hybrid of an American Lambrusco vine and a French vinifera vine, and in the meanwhile, the diseases had gotten back to France and killed all of their vineyards. So now all of the vines all over the world are hybrids, and some are second generation hybrids, third generation, and they're developing new vines every day. California really got the jump when this new hybrid vine was grown in the 60s and 70s, and they have had traditionally an ideal climate, and that's changing very quickly. It's also changing quickly everywhere. And in France, for example, they're starting to change the varieties that are comprise the Bordeaux wines. They're having to use vines that can tolerate hotter weather. In California, they're having difficulties with the traditional strong Cabernet Sauvignon because it's just too hot there and overproduces sugars and therefore too much alcohol. So Virginia is in a sweet spot for the moment, but who knows, it may be Canada actually in 30, 50 years where they do grow wine along Lake Ontario. They grow grapes, excuse me. So it's an ever-changing thing. And in terms of quality, it's really a matter of how it's produced. If one focuses on limiting the quantity and increasing the quality of the grapes, well, that's the first step. And wine knowledge has also spread through the science, and we have to give credit to Cal Poly for really UC Davis for disseminating that knowledge that the French held so closely to their vest for centuries. So now it's all over the world, and it's continuing to grow. I think there are 350 wineries in Virginia today. Sorry for that long answer.
Eleanor.
A way to influence or control the I guess it's the nitrites,
Yes.
because some of us have a lot of problems with them and can't drink the wine. So often it's a less expensive wine that has the more nitrates, that sort of thing.
That's a great question, and there are a couple of things to be aware of there, and maybe the scientists in the crowd can chip in here. But the sulfites in the wines, sulfur, that are sprayed on the leaves to control mildews, well, they get into the wine, and in the winemaking process we add sulfur. It's a potassium metabisulfite, and that is a preservative, and it kills the bad bacteria in the wine. And so it's a good thing, but if you're sensitive to it, you know, it causes migraine headaches and other symptoms like cold symptoms. So you get stuffy nose and that sort of thing. Well, it's in cheap wines, they add a lot of the sulfur just to nuke it and make sure that it'll travel from, you know, Australia or Chile or from Missouri or wherever to wherever it's going. So I would try to get local vineyard wines grown on the property if you can, wherever you go. And I try to drink more whites, which typically have a little bit lower level of sulfites. And the reds, we try to keep the sulfur level down to the absolute minimum threshold to where you're starting to maybe lose wines prematurely. But if you overdo the sulfur, it's just going to taste bad, and it's going to give people migraines. So we don't experience it with our own wine here because we send our samples off to Virginia Tech's wine labs, and they have sophisticated tests that help us determine the absolute perfect milligrams per liter, and not exceed those totals. So you might experiment with wines where the vendor can tell you what the sulfur levels are.
Barry,
Yes.
can you talk a little bit about organic wine?
Yeah, organic wine is sort of what I'm hinting at here, in that there are limitations as to what you can use in the vineyard. I think pesticides are the main thing, and it is just simply not possible to have a vineyard in Virginia that is completely organic because of the pests, unless one expects to produce about 10 to 20% of what the normal yield would be, because you're going to lose so much to insects. And we're having a terrible time around the world now with the spread of bugs from Asia, stink bugs, the spotted lanternfly, the Drosophila, that really destroy the vines or can destroy the taste of the wine. In the case of the fruit flies, they're terrible. So that's one thing that, again, we have to use it as sparingly as possible. There's some protocols for, I think, limited use of some pesticides and certain types of pesticides. But we're fighting a world now that's where borders are disappearing, but with international trade. So these insects hitch rides easily. And they're just having a terrible time in Pennsylvania right now with the spotted lanternfly. It is just killing peaches and apples and particularly grape orchards all across the northern United States. So yeah, and then there also are with organic wines limitations on additional.
I think we lost him.
I think we may have lost him. Okay. Well, I learned a lot about wine. And it's kind of neat that we have, a local person, who obviously is, very versatile in what he does, going from architecture to making wine. So we certainly appreciate Barry joining us. Barry, I'm not sure if you can hear us or not, but because we're so dedicated to literacy, a book will be donated in your honor to Granby Elementary School. So thank you very much for joining us. Just as one last thing, if you want to visit his vineyard online, it's mossvineyards.net. And our next meeting will be next Tuesday, November 17th. And Mark Swiggle from the Virginia Aquarium will be joining us. Final reminder, I hope as many of you can attend the service project this coming Saturday as possible. And if you are considering going to the holiday social, please sign up sooner rather than later. So thank you very much for your attendance. It was great to see everyone, and we are adjourned. Thank you.